Okay, so welcome, and it's really lovely to have you with me this evening. So thank you so much for joining me, and really nice to be able to spend the time just basically talking to women and talking about the things that I really enjoy, which is how we can get better on in our lives and how we can further what we need to further and how we can live more productively. So welcome, and it's really fantastic to have you with me this evening. So a couple of things we're going to be talking about this evening. And I guess I always ask the question, quite often when we go forth in life as women, we might not necessarily really know what we want or what it is what sort of career we're after. But I always think that it's always nice to ask the questions. Would you like to, for example, be in a career that you really enjoy? Would you like to get up in the morning feeling happy in your work and confident in yourself? And would you like to feel that you're living your dream job in life and doing what you want to do? Would you like to know that you're in control of your life as opposed to others being? Bit of a cheeky comment that really, as opposed to others being, but so many times when I'm working with women, they'll say to me, well, the problem is, Karen, that other people are in charge of my life, not me. And will I pursue that a little bit more? Well, they're working harder than they should, or they're doing everything they need to for the children. And so many women with whom I work, and there's really countless of them over the years, often have said to me, I just don't feel as if I'm in control of my life. Somebody else is. Would you like to feel good about you? Because if not, why not? You're the only person really that can live the life that you want to lead and live the life that you want to live. So I always say to women, let's start learning to feel good about ourselves. That's a good part. But in many ways, and it's really interesting because it doesn't really matter what topic I'm talking about. And as you know, there's quite a few of you on the line tonight. I talk about lots of different things every month. And the problem is that generally many women are stuck in careers that they don't enjoy, that are not working as well as they would like to. But actually, when I was just thinking about designing the webinar yesterday, what is it about that? I think a lot of women actually have lost confidence. And I'm not talking about women at an older age or a middle age or a younger age. I'm just talking across the board. Women generally, I think, lack confidence in many areas of their careers, particularly if they're wanting to go up the corporate ladder or up the community service ladder. I don't always think that we actually put ourselves first, which means then if we don't come first, we often come last, and that becomes problematic. I always say that an amazing life and livelihood is not a destination, it's a process. It's a journey and a lifelong experience that changes how you see and interact with the world. So very often people say, well, I just want that career, or I just want this relationship, or I just want to be in this financial situation. And I think it's always wonderful to aspire to those kind of things. But I think that the reality is that everything in our lives really, and as I'm getting older, obviously, I think to myself, things I wanted when I was 23 are obviously different to, the things that I want now. But it's just like everything seems to be a journey. Nothing is quick and nothing is fast, I don't think, in many ways anymore, particularly around careers. And so I honestly think that when we talk about having the career that we want and the lifelong dreams that we want to achieve, it's about having really kind of hard and fast goals and thinking about what it is that we really want to achieve with our lives, regardless of what it is that we want to do. But it is important to think about these things. And so maybe it's time to see how you deal with your career, work, and life through fresh eyes. I was working with a woman Saturday actually, and she was talking to me about the fact that she's been in a career for 10 years. She's a legal assistant and absolutely hates the job. She feels trapped, I think, financially. She's got 2 young children and it's a good paying job, but she's just not happy, ladies. And she says that she's miserable in all aspects of her life and she really doesn't know how to get out of it. And I think the important part about this is that, if you think about our careers, we spend so much time at work. And essentially, if you're spending sort of 8, 9, 10 hours working or getting to work, working and then going home, it's really important, I think, that we enjoy it. And yet there seems to be countless women with whom I, work or talk or counsel or coach or train who just don't see that there's a lot of passion in what they're doing. It's for them, it's a job. It's not a passion. It's a chore. It's not something that they enjoy. And it really breaks my heart when I see women in those sort of situations because, in many ways, most of my life is dedicated to helping women thrive, hence, empowering women to thrive. So I often ask myself this question, or I ask women who I'm coaching, ask yourself, how am I living? Is my life great? Is my life good? Is my life mediocre? Or is my life crappy? How would I rate it? Am I in a career that I really enjoy? And if you can say to me, yes, I really am in a career that I totally enjoy, then you wouldn't be on the line tonight. So, or it might be that you're in a career that you enjoy, but you feel a bit stale and you really want to move out of this career. Does my work challenge me and do I enjoy it? And I think that's a really interesting question. I think that the younger generation of women are in a position where I think that the workforce has changed significantly. I think that organizations are doing things differently, more flexi time, more project management, more working from home, all those kind of things, which might give women more of an opportunity to, have greater balance, might give women a greater opportunity to try different things in their working life. So I think that maybe it's because of the changing workplace that some women are quite satisfied. But if I have to say, over the last, let's say, 40 women I've spoken to in the last month, I would say less than half of them would be. And of course, I won't get into the whole issue of gender inequality and the pay gap, because that'll just take us forever to get off the line tonight. But those things also do affect how women enjoy their work or not. The gender pay gap do affect how a woman lives or not. At the end of the day, how we make our money and the money that we make, in other words, the amount, actually affects the way that we live and how we enjoy our lives. Am I able to feel more in control and manage my life and difficulties better? These are the sort of questions I tend to ask as I'm coming towards the end of one year or starting the beginning of another. I always sort of try and check in with myself and say, how am I going? And was that a good year or was that not such a good year? And are there things I could do differently, or how can I make the next year absolutely sensational? How can I go about controlling my career, enhancing my life, and building confidence? And I always say, it's a great thing around the beginning of the year. This is the year, 2019. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to build my confidence. I'm going to find my dream job. I'm going to be the most optimistic person ever. Now, my situation is a bit different, I guess, because I'm obviously in work that I absolutely love and I'm passionate about. But I'm not really talking about me in that example. I'm talking about so many women. And I say, so it's the end of an old year and the beginning of a new one. Let's think about what you could be doing differently, or how can we make it so that you do feel more in control of your career, more enhancing of your life and building confidence. Now, I don't know how many of you were on the line last month when I was talking about building confidence as a woman. Or maybe it was a month before. I do them all the time. But the topic about building confidence is a really important topic with women in all aspects of our lives, be it in career, be it in just living happily, be it in our relationships. Do we do those things that we enjoy? And I always say that often it's, if you do something and you're not sure about it, but you keep trying, the more confident you get. Generally, I think that there's a connection between confidence and feeling more certain as we go about our lives. We build confidence over time, and I think that's an important point in managing your career. Very few of us, in fact, statistically, very few of us would leave school, go to university, TAFE, or even not necessarily go and get educated in terms of tertiary, and that doesn't matter. That's not the most important thing in life. But very few of us will actually land that first job and stay with that job, until we retire, sort of 50 years later or whatever it may be. My mother's generation would say that theirs was a different situation in that they were encouraged to go to school, obviously leave school, go to school, leave school, go to like a typing class or whatever it might be, and then get married and work. And that's what they did. But we don't do that anymore. In fact, the general rule of thumb in the research I've done is that women stay and work essentially between 3.5 and 6.4 years in one job, and then we tend to move on, which I think is really interesting, because what it means is that because we're not staying in, work the same sort of time as former generations do or did, the issue around that then is that we can have 3 or 4 or 5 different careers. And we can actually really start thinking about what is it that we want to do and what is it that we would like to spend our lives. So it's a bit of this and a bit of that, and that's fantastic. So I won't bore you with too long here, but this is a little bit about who I am. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Basically, I do various things. I work with leaders. I work on Africa. We work in Fiji. We work in Australia. And I do leadership development and team development. And I also do probably my passion is working with women, helping them lead the lives they were born to lead, free from fear, limiting beliefs. And I write lots of blogs and posts on this. And some of you follow me, I think. And you'll see me talk a lot about empowerment, confidence boosting, getting rid of fear and self-doubt, because I think one of the key things that keeps us really stuck as women is that we don't have the confidence that I think we should or could have. I think we doubt ourselves all the time, and so this is really what my life is about, helping women. So that's just a little bit about me, and I absolutely am passionate about that. So again, thank you for coming on the line this evening. These are just some of the people I've worked with over the years. I think I'm going to change these photographs in the new year. I've used them for a while now. And for those of you who are on my monthly webinars, I think I'll change them for you. So the Empowering Women to Thrive program, just as a quick background, really comes from my work with women. I have a long background in working in the domestic violence space, sadly. I was instrumental in helping the federal government set up the 1-800-RESPECT line, which is still going today. And my role was to write a training program for the 900 counsellors coming on the line. And then I spent about 8-9 months training these counsellors. However, I am about helping women at all levels and ages thrive. So I help women in organizations. We run leadership programs for women. We run a program called Empowering Women to Thrive at Work, used extensively at the moment, interestingly, in construction and law. And it's really because those really are very much male-dominated industries, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. So what is it? It's Be Unstoppable. It's a 9-stage online women's program, which I wrote in response to a very unfortunate experience where a woman and her children lost their lives. That's Empowering Women to Thrive at Work. It's a face-to-face, and companies choose 12 stages or less. Talk a little bit about that later. We run retreats, which I love, coaching, and of course the monthly webinar. So that's really what the whole program with different bits and bobs is all about. Get involved. We do lots on Instagram, we do lots on LinkedIn, lots on Facebook. So I always say the more women we have with us, the better. And sometime next year, I've decided to try and get some sponsors and organizations and get ourselves in a situation where we run an Empowering Women to Thrive conference. So look out for that one. Be Unstoppable, I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but it's written for women around the world by a woman who understands women. Oh, that took a long time for me to say, but we launched it in June 2018, and there's about 2,000 women going through the program at the moment. So, bad hair day, career. I like that picture because I think that's most of us in the morning. We wake up and we're so busy and got so much to do and kind of jump out of bed, have our shower. That's the plight of women, I think, in many ways, is that we do so much for everybody else, we forget ourselves in the process. So many women say to me, I'm so tired of trying. Don't be tired of trying, ladies. If you need a break, have a break, but keep going, because your career, your life, this is it. And it's up to you to make it the most wonderful, wonderful life. It's time to be zestful and energetic. Now, that woman over there is 93. I mean, can you believe it? 93 years of age. I can't do that at 50 years younger than her. But, to really think about it, it's now the right time of the year. Really think about, if you've been saying to yourself for the last 2 or 3 years, I want to do this next year, and you haven't, now's the time. And I think the most important thing about all of these webinars and the discussions that I have and the training and the coach, all the stuff that I do, here's the thing. I want you to write this down if you've got a pen and a piece of paper in front of you. And I'm really happy to send you all of this webinar material after we finish. But I want you to write this thing down. And these are the words. For things to change, first I must change. For things to change, first I must change. And why I find that the most wonderful statement is because I have so many people saying, if only I earned more money, I could do this. Or if only I won the lotto, I would do that. Or if only I was better educated, I'd get a better job. Or if only I lost weight, I would be more attractive, prettier. You know, and there again, if only. If only. Well, if only is that what you're saying, then it's really, if things are to change, then first I must change. So this webinar is to thinking about, what do you want to change in your career? What do you want to change in your life? Are you doing what you want to do? Does your career stimulate you? And obviously we're focusing today on career and life, and I'm going to talk a bit about goals as well. But it's, I guess, how much can you do in a sort of 60-minute webinar with these three life-changing topics, really, or those huge topics that really are things that we need to think about regularly, because this is our life. And have you achieved your goals this year? Have you done what you said you would do? Or are you still struggling to? If we leave things to chance, there's a 90 and 89% chance, that we won't get what we want. And 89%, and that was research that was done overseas. So that means really what we need to think about is goals. Now, goals, they are SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And what we do know, which is really interesting about the research around SMART goals, is that people who write their goals down and follow their goals, and I'm talking to women now, so women who write their goals down and follow their goals religiously tend to be women who live longer, they're healthier, they're happier, they're in better relationships, and they're financially more sound. And that's 5 evidence-based outcomes of research around SMART goals. And the question here to ask yourself is, if you have not achieved your goals this year, why not? Why have you not achieved your goals? And if you leave things to chance, remember 89% chance that you won't get what you want. A 2017 survey showed, have a look, read this particular topic in front of you. And it's really interesting when you talk about 37% of the 160 Canadian and US-based businesses surveyed showed their employees did not know how to influence or did not influence their own career paths. So if you think about that, then this says to me that people leave their careers to chance. And I think that's a really important topic. All of us, each and every one, is accountable for our careers. So if you wanted another job and you don't have, let's say, the background, then you've got to go and get the training or the education. If you want to go up the line and you haven't got the experience, then it's about approaching your boss and finding out how you can get the experience. But I think before I even get to that, I'm going to talk very quickly about a few problems. And when we talk about careers and even life, one of the major problems I find women have is that we don't know what we want. Well, if we don't know what we want, how are we going to get it? And with regards to careers, many of us are in jobs, not careers. And what that basically means is that we come to work, we do our job, we go home. And I'm not being judgmental around that. For some people, that's absolutely fine. There's no criticism. Some people don't want the stress of busy careers. Some women don't want the hassle and the busyness of rising up the ranks or more responsibility. Sometimes we just want to do what we need to do and go home. Others of us don't really know what we want. Now, this is obviously more of a problem for us if we're younger than if we're older. However, having said that, that doesn't mean that if we're 55, for example, that if we still don't know what we want, whether we should not pursue it. I don't have that opinion. I don't have the opinion that you've hit a particular age and now you really should retire. I don't see life like that. I see life that you can keep on going until we drop. In fact, I actually believe that the more we do, the more engaged in life, the more engaged in people and enjoyment, I think the better off we are. So career is an interesting word. We might, for example, as I've said, have 3 or 4 different careers now with a modern day world. So you might start off in accounting and then go into horticulture, then decide you want to do childcare and then move into aged care and then decide, right, I'm 65 and now I want to retire. But even then, if you think about this, ladies, retire is what? We know from the research that says that if somebody has been working full on for 40 years and suddenly retire, there's a greater chance of them spiraling down to depression and suicide ideation, and this is the truth, than those women or people, but I'm talking to women, than those women who maybe finish the one job at 65 and then say, right, what am I going to do for the next 25, 30 years? I'm going to, have a great hobby. I'm going to work with animals. I'm going to travel. I'm going to look after children, albeit my grandchildren. So it might then be that what they're doing is having just different what we call careers, but they're not being paid for them necessarily. Or they might still be paid. You might still be paid for a career when you're 70. I think that the world has changed. I think we don't know what we want, and now we're older is out the door. For younger women, I often say, give those things that you find somewhat interesting a go. And just now, I'm going to show you what a technique is that we basically use. But when we just think about, we don't really know what we want. We're in a job, not in a career. We get up and go to this place called work. We get our paycheck. But where's the pizzazz? Where's the yes, I can't wait to get out of bed. Yes, I can't wait to, meet the people at work and get so many different things done. I can't wait to make a difference. That's the thing I think that often we struggle with as women. And I think there's a problem with that. Does your job give you passion and purpose? Because if it doesn't, and that's okay with you, then that's fine. But if it doesn't, and it's a problem for you, then that's what I'm talking about here this evening. We need to have passion. We need to have purpose. If you look about the history of women and all the things that we do and all the things and the burdens that we carry and all the different roles that we play and the hats that we wear, we need to be able to enjoy our lives and get up with that yes factor in the morning. So when we do have that it's just a job and not a career and I've lost my pizzazz, what happens is we tend not to enjoy our work. It often becomes a chore. How many women do I see? I was sitting at the station the other day, and it was probably a little bit later on in the morning, maybe about 9:30 as opposed to the crazy 8:30 time. And I got on the train, and the carriage was filled with, let's say there were 15 people on the train or in the carriage. And in the carriage, there were probably out of 15, say 11 women. And, I sat there and I just looked at these women and I thought to myself, there wasn't one of those women that had that kind of joie de vivre. None of them. They all looked kind of downtrodden. Most of them were on the phone, by the way. They didn't seem to have a smile. Nobody smiled. Nobody really kind of had that sense of purpose or passion. And I just remember thinking, I wonder how many of these women are actually enjoying their lives and enjoying their jobs. And I thought, no, you know what? They're not enjoying their work, and they probably think it's a chore. And often what I find is that so many of us lose the confidence to get out of it. So we stay in our job. Oh, Karen, they'll say to me, better the devil than the one I don't know, Karen. Well, what does that mean, Marg? Well, I've been in this job for 25 years. I'm too old to move now. I mean, what nonsense is that? Oh, well, I just don't feel that I've got the energy to start a new career. Well, if you don't think you've got the energy, then you're not going to do it because, you see, for things to change, first I must change. Oh, well, I don't want to lose my super, and I understand that. And so I think quite often we get locked into things in a career that we just don't find stimulating. And for some, we feel that we're living mediocre lives. Job is a chore, don't enjoy it much. Go home, cook dinner, watch TV, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, cook dinner, watch TV, go to bed. How many of you are in that situation where you're living like that, where it's just round and round on the hamster treadmill? And I think, we dream of what we could have done or want to do, but don't. And I think that's the greatest sadness really for women, is because I think we have so much to offer and so much that we want to achieve. And yet I think, as I said just now, that many of us carry such loads. Raising children, let's just go back to the stereotypical role. And I know that for some families it's different and the world is changing, but, nurturing children, cooking, cleaning, taxing, making money, going to work, looking after our aging parents, looking after our grandparents if we're younger, looking after our friends, helping with the neighbors. It just never stops. And the Dalai Lama said the world will be saved by women. And I thought the world is being saved by women. But I think the reason why I'm saying this is I'm wondering whether some of us just get locked into work because we're so exhausted by the other things that we're doing. Solutions to problem number one, we don't know what we want. So those kind of problems are, I say, look at all aspects of your life. So what I really mean is, are you in a career you want? If not, do you know? Do you know what you want? Are you happy overall? Are there areas of your life you would like to improve? And if those are areas of your life, what are those areas of your life? Or don't you know? And I'm going to teach you in a moment to do a SWOT analysis, which I want you to really think about. What are the options if you don't know what you want? I say, let's just say that you're a younger woman, because generally it's the younger women who tend to be not sure or trying to find their way in a good career, right? Leverage what you're good at. And think about, so what are you good at? It could be, are you good at IT? Are you good with people? Do you have great interpersonal skills? Are you a good person with accounting? Do you really find that overall you actually enjoy working with aged? Or are you somebody who likes landscaping? Think about what you're good at. Think about what you are interested in. Because we're not all interested in the same thing. I actually visit a career advisor here because my son, who's now 22, when he finished school 4 years ago, honestly, ladies, he was driving me crazy. He had no idea about what he wanted to do, and why would you at 18? So he tried this thing at university. Then he went to TAFE. Then he thought, oh, no, I think I'm going to be a carpenter. So did that for a while. And there was this young, beautiful man bopping around from this to that, to this, to that, to this, to that. And I think it was getting him more and more depressed. He didn't know what to do. So eventually I thought, right, I can't stand this. So I said to him, let's go to a career advisor, which we did. Now, he had to fill in this online profile testing thing. It was really interesting. I've still got the profile that he walked away from the career advisor with, which helped enormously. It ruled things out like IT. It ruled things out like accounting, bookkeeping. And it put in things like he's really good interpersonally. So they talked about HR, PR, or marketing. He didn't think so. He's quite a big picture kind of kid. He likes strategy. So I was thinking, well, business or something like that. Anyway, what he's landed up doing is a Bachelor of International Security Studies at university. So it's all about terrorism, anti-terrorism, counterterrorism, keeping nations safe, keeping companies safe, and he's loving it. And how would I have ever got there had we not gone to a career advisor? Absolutely not. So at the end of the day, I think it's done fabulously for him. So that's just one option. So what I want you to do is, if you're really not sure what you want to do, or you're sort of thinking about it, take an A4 piece of paper. Write down the things you are passionate about now and really enjoy. So that might not be right now, but I want you to think about, what do you enjoy? What we know is that it's the things that you are drawn to that you will always be best at in a career. So if you are drawn to numbers, you probably will be great at things with numbers. It stands to make perfect sense. Accounting, bookkeeping, financial solutions, insurance, all of those kind of things. If you're more interested in, let's say, caring, you like looking after people, or you like providing care for other people, then you would probably be really great in childcare, maybe, aged care, disability care. If you are somebody who loves animals, then vet nursing, veterinary science. So think about what do you enjoy? And if you say to me, look, I really want to go and do childcare, but I'm stuck in an admin job, my challenge to you is, then what are you going to do about that? But at the end of the day, I want you to take an A4 piece of paper and don't think about, don't filter it. I'll write down just what you love doing. So it could be 10 or 15 different things, because you want to leverage off that. And then, for example, if it is animals, write down any career you can think of to deal with animals, as I've just explained. So it could be even dog walking, dog grooming, animal grooming, veterinary nursing, as I said earlier, vet admin, running a practice of veterinary people or veterinarians. What is it? So think about it, because the bottom line is that at the core of that is animals. If it is around children, for example, you love children, at the core of it you could say, well, love children, I want to work with them. So it could be, yes, a childcare worker. You could actually look after children after school, maybe, It could be that you work in an USH environment, after school care. It could be that you are a teacher's aide. There are so many things. It just depends on what it is that but as I say, what it is that you interested in generally is what will draw you to being good at something and loving it. And then coming back to my animal example, research what you would need to have to learn work with animals. And if it's, another 7-year degree, and you might say, oh my gosh, I'm 52, I can't really afford to do another 7-year degree. That's absolutely fine. But you could maybe work with animals over the weekend. Gosh, there's so many shelters who would love you to work with them. If you say, well, look, I'm 25 now and I'd really love to be doing vet science, I don't have the money. Well, I'm not really wanting to tell you to go and do HECS, because that's not really my role. But if it was my children and I couldn't afford, and I can't afford to put them to, university for 7 years, I would certainly look at that. I always say that to think positively, that the world is your oyster. Think outside of the square. Because you're in a job that you hate and you've been there for 7 years and it pays well, doesn't mean you've got to stay there. Doesn't mean that you can't maybe stay in the job for a while and study part-time. Many, many, many people, millions of people around the world work full-time and study something completely different part-time. And it's very difficult to study part-time. But what they're doing is that they're then upskilling themselves in the education they need to do something differently. And what would it take to do so? What would you have to give up? So the point is that you don't have to stay stuck in a job that you don't like. You can really think about what you do, what are you drawn to, and what do you need to do to make that happen. And if you say it's too much effort, then that's what you've got to question. Then either you don't want to do it desperately enough, or it's just too much like hard work, or you're not really that interested in moving anyway. And in none of those three options am I making any judgment. Of course, I'm not doing that. But it is around thinking, if you want something desperately in life, a career, then you've got to go out and get it. It's not going to come to you unless you're really lucky, or unless your father's Bill Gates. So those are some of the solutions to problem one. We don't know what we want. Problem number two, we want to advance our career but don't do anything about it. This is probably more frustrating, I think, than number one. We have an idea of a career we want, but not sure how to get there. I think that's easier than not doing anything about it. We dream of things being different. We want a new life with more excitement, less stress. We think about that Monday I'm going to start. I call it the Gunner Club. I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get a new job. I'm going to have a great career. Well, the Gunner Club is different to the Doer Club. I'm going to do as opposed to I'm going to think about doing. We think about how things will change when we get a new dream job or we have more time. Nothing will change unless you change something. So first, for things to change, I must change. And then what happens is over time, we feel stuck, we're overwhelmed, we feel frozen, not sure how to make the change or what to do. And it's a really difficult position to be in, because if you feel that way, a lot of women tend to get quite disillusioned. Some go towards anxiety, some get really depressed. And what happens? Well, our confidence goes downhill. And then what happens with all of those is that we stay stuck because we don't have the confidence to do what we want to do. So we get frozen and then believe that we can't move forward when we really can. So some of the solutions, we have to take action. It's important that it's easier to say have a clear idea of where you want to go, but if you don't have a clear idea of where you want to go, as I've just described earlier, if it is childcare, then explore childcare. If it is an option of childcare, banking, social services, and finance, then do research on all of them. If you're not clear, well, do something. Do something. I think that's one of the key things I say. I speak a lot at conferences. It's one thing to wish we can do something. It's another thing to do it. But it's about being action orientated. Speak to your supervisor. Here's something. For those of you who are in the workforce right now and want to change lanes or want to do something different in the same organization, approach your supervisor or approach HR. If they tell you areas to improve, and this is really difficult sometimes, take it seriously. So I'm hoping that you would get that in your performance appraisals, but not all performance appraisal situations are really beneficial, I'm afraid to say. But what you could do is ask your supervisor maybe mid-year, look, I'd really like to go from this department into another department. Where do you think my strengths are? Where do you think my weaknesses are? And how can I improve? So whatever they say, take the advice seriously. And if it's not them, go to their manager. Look for advice or look for tips from people around you. Some organizations have mentoring and coaching programs in place, which is fantastic. Others don't, but if you don't, well, then go and find yourself a mentor if you can. I think mentoring is a wonderful option for organizations, and if yours doesn't have an official one, see somebody in the organization, generally more senior to you, who you admire, who really seems to have got their stuff together, who is looked at with respect in the organization, and ask you to help them 1 hour a month. Get your own mentor. Ask for opportunities for experience. So, as I say, if you wanted to have experience in another area, ask for, even if you could do a 2-day stint in that department, or is there a project group that you could join? Try and see if you can't get what we call the job swap. So you're in one job in another department for another day and somebody comes into your job. The initiative is called a job swap, and it just gives you a feel for how another department or another function works. It's a great way to get the experience of how it might be in an area that you might be interested in exploring further. This is a key. When we're wanting to advance in our careers, or when we're wanting to learn more about careers, or when we're wanting to think about how we can change careers, but maybe also even keep our foot in a similar camp to the one we're in. So you've got two different aspects of careers. This is I always say, educate yourself. Whatever you do, keep your education going. I mean, I think life is a journey of education and learning, obviously. But when we're talking about our careers and when we're talking about our life, it is about being better educated. And of course, the better educated we are, the greater we have choices. And the more choices we have, often the better the career. Often, the more choices we have, the greater the opportunity we have to live meaningful lives, ladies, because we've got the choices. But if we don't have the education, and if we don't then understand what's open to us, then we just stick in what we've got. And an example would be working in Africa. I was born in Africa. And in a former era, when I think about some of the educational opportunities for people there, some people were so unable to be well educated, and the choices they made were so limited. And some of them never even had the opportunities that we have here in this most magnificent country called Australia. But I always say to my children, I have 3 and they're all young adults, educate yourself, because the better educated you are, the more you can move between careers, the more you can move up the ladder, the more you can move into different positions, and the more able you are to try new things in your career and also in your life. There's a classic example of a friend of mine who's a hairdresser by trade. She wanted to be a hairdresser, so she became a hairdresser. Then she got bored, and then she went into accounting. She didn't become an accountant, but she did financial work. Then she got bored with that over time, and then she went into community services, and things went badly for her. She was retrenched. I actually think that was a godsend. She was devastated. But she actually went back into hairdressing, her original skill, her original trade. And she then opened up a hair salon, and then opened 2 hair salons, and now has 3 hair salons, and is absolutely thriving. And she said to me, Karen, who would have ever thought I would have gone back to my first career? And, the world's her oyster, because as she went through those 3 different careers of hers, she just kept educating. So something to think about. Oh, wow. Well, of course, this is the big one. Network. The more you network, the more people you know, the more people you meet, the greater, I believe, the opportunities that open to you and for you. Like, we never know who we're going to meet. We never know what opportunities we can have. It's just remarkable how that age-old saying, which you would have always heard, it's never what you know, it's who you know. This Empowering Women to Thrive at Work program we were running it in Master Builders Association. And I'm telling you this for a reason. It's a story it's an experience. And it's a 12-stage program, as I said. Master Builders chose 7. I met the man who ran the program at Master Builders. Well, we ran it for him. But Master Builders has to be the most male-dominated industry, construction, in Australia. And I met this man at a conference. It was actually networking. It was a forum. And I didn't want to go, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to really push myself to go. So I went. And I met this man standing next to me at the coffee machine. And I introduced myself, and he introduced himself. And he said, what do you do? And I told him, I said, what do you do? And he told me, we've just got on like a house on fire. So we gave each other our cards. And he rang me about 2 or 3 days later, and he said, can you come and see me? And I said, well, I sort of thought to myself, that's very curious, Master Builders and Empowering Women. Kind of, they didn't sort of sit, I thought, together. How wrong was I? Anyway, we ran this program through Master Builders Association this year in May with such success that we're rolling it out in many different construction companies and law firms. We're approaching law firms. So the point that I make is, look at that. I didn't want to go to that network, that forum. I had no intention, but I thought, no, make the effort. For things to change first, I must change. So I made the effort. I really enjoyed the forum, met this fantastic person who's opened endless opportunities to us or for us, which we're just following and absolutely loving. And had I not done the networking, we wouldn't be there. But I think the other thing that's really important, if something doesn't work, for example, if you're in a job that you don't like or career that you're not satisfied, don't stay there. Keep going. Find something else. Keep looking. Keep moving. The days of, you haven't been in this job or this career for 10 years, that's a bad thing. Those days are gone, ladies. I was doing some research around Gen Y. It was really interesting about 2 weeks ago. Gen Y typically will stay in an organization for 3 years and then move on. 3 years. Now, when I was in a younger woman starting out, that would have been frowned upon. So the point is, don't stay in something you don't like, number one. Number two, if you have to, well, then that's what you've got to do. But maybe try and do things that you really enjoy outside of work. And I think the other important thing is that if you're in a job that you don't like or career that you don't like, keep looking, keep going, keep searching for whatever it is that's going to make you happy. Because unless you believe in reincarnation, as I always say, you've only got one shot at life. 6 ways to enhance your life. Thought I'd throw these in because I'm very big on this, living a great life and a productive life and a meaningful life. This is your life. Make it about me. Be disciplined. We women make it about everybody else. As I said, everybody comes first, then us. And it must be about me. I must be at the core of my life. I must make sure that I'm well. I must make sure that I'm healthy. I must make sure that I look after me. Because if I had to ask, and there's quite a few of you on the line, how many of you put yourselves first of an evening, of a morning, of a day? Out of all of you, probably less than a third of you would say, I do. I speak at conferences, 25 conferences a year, and I ask the same question all the time at every conference. How many of you make yourselves the most important person in your life? And I'll tell you something. Let's say that there's 100 people in the conference. I might have 4 that put their hand up. I'm talking about women here, not men. And so it's about thinking about, okay, next year's going to be about me. Next year's going to be about me making me happy and doing the things that I want to do. How's this? Treat yourself especially well, just as you would a guest. So imagine that you've got your childhood friend coming from overseas to stay with you for a week, and you want to make it as special and as wonderful for her or him as you possibly can. You want it to be magical. You want to do things, each day, even if it's one little thing with this friend, and really enjoy it and make it count. Right? So why don't you do that for yourself? Why don't you treat yourself so well, because you're worth it and you're special? Do things you enjoy alone if you want. So many of us feel pressurized into going away with our husbands or our partners or our kids, or doing what, conventionally we should do. And I'll tell you what, I just do things that are totally unconventional. What's an example? I travel alone often. I do a lot of work overseas, as some of you know, and some of you may or may not know. I'm in Fiji a lot of the time, developing leaders. Often I'll travel alone for work, and that's different. But I actually go on holiday at times alone. I'm not scared to be alone. And I think that's an important thing for women. For a lot of the women with whom I work or coach or train, a lot of women are scared of being alone. You don't need to be scared of being alone in any way, shape, or form, regardless of your age. In fact, I actually think that to be alone, travel alone, do the things you enjoy alone is actually really character building and good for us. I'm quite happy to go to a movie on my own. I'm quite happy to go to dinner on my own. So don't feel fearful of doing things like that because it's unconventional or frowned upon. No. Learn how to say no to everyone. Oh my gosh, how many of us don't? How many of us just take on more and more and more and more, and then eventually we are so exhausted we can't wait to get into bed at night? And I talk about this all the time. And you might say to yourselves listening to me, oh, Karen, I've heard you say that. I've heard other people say it. Well, if you've heard other people say it, or you've heard me say it, what are you doing about saying no? I live close to a station, probably 10-minute walk at the most. And my son says to me the other day, Mum, will you take me to the station? I said, nah, why not, he says. I said, because it's a 10-minute walk. Oh, but I don't feel like walking. Well, tough, mate, walk. That's why we've got a house close to the station. Now, you might say that was a bit cheeky and a bit mean. It was only, 2-minute drive. That's not the point. I was sitting watching something I wanted to watch, and I just didn't want to be bothered. So learn to say no. Make a habit of doing and trying new things. Little things, I don't know, whatever that could be, skydiving or something like, going on drives on a Sunday down to the beach, or walking on the beach, or maybe learning how to sew, or learning how to bake, whatever it is. Don't do the same monotonous thing all the time, every day, day in, day out, year in, year out, century in, century out kind of thing. It's doing the little things that are different and exciting, and just keeps life, interesting, I guess. I think this is an important one about enhancing your life. Don't fight life. Go with it. And so what do I mean by that? When things get tough, just go through the toughness. So many of us fight with it, and we beat ourselves up, and we hate ourselves, and we can't wait for this time to be over. And I always have this great saying, which is so old anyway, which is, things will pass. This will pass. Things will get better. So if you're going through a tough time, don't fight it. Just go with it. You'll come out the other end better off for it, believe it or not, wiser, sharper, with greater insight. Don't always fight life, I say. And I can't help myself. I can never just stick to 6 ways or 7 ways. I've always got to add more in. Be positive and grateful. Be positive about this wonderful life. We live in the most amazing country. We live in the most wonderful climate generally, although I'm not sure about of late, but overall a beautiful climate. When I'm talking about being positive, there's so much that you do have going for you. And not everything is bad. And be grateful for those things. I think when we learn to be more grateful and have greater gratitude, and we are positive and optimistic, life for me just seems so much easier. And none of us have perfect lives. None of us have perfect careers. But you're wonderful, special women, and you deserve the best. And if you're not going to be given it on a golden plate, then go out and get it. And if you don't know how to get it, well, get a coach, ring me, make an appointment, see me, do something, but don't not do anything. Empowering Women takes you from this to that, in any way, shape, or form, depending what it is that you want to do. So a little bit about the coming back now around to for your organization or for you, we run a range of in-house programs in organizations, and the Empowering Women to Thrive is the one that I was really talking about. 12 stages, 1 or 2 day women's programs. We run retreats for women, do coaching. And so you can go to my website, which is www.karenwalsh.com.au. And this is the example I gave you just now about the Master Builders Association. So we do a lot of women's work, empowering women's work in organizations. And even though I've been doing leadership and team development in organizations for 25 years, I must share something with you ladies between you now. It's the women's work in organizations that I really love. And why? Because, and this is not aimed at women in leadership. Let me be clear. This is women down the line, secretaries, admins, sales reps, women on site, because they are the forgotten women. They are the women who don't get the opportunity. There is so much money and opportunity being thrown at women in leadership. We run those programs too. I coach women all the time, but I'm really interested in the women down the line. So the Be Unstoppable, the online program I was talking about, I actually wrote this. I've been asked to write a program like this for many, many years, and I wrote it, as I said, because a woman and her children lost their lives. You're welcome to go on it. It's 55 hours of women's empowerment, and it's $197, including GST, lots of games, activities, quizzes, a really, really fun program. If you do decide to go on it, when you pay out, it'll be $297, but if you put in that code, it'll be U-Thrive, BU-Thrive, you would be able to get the discount. And if it's not for you, it's for your daughter, your friend, your aunt, whomever. It's the most amazing program. Now, the reason why I have kept this program at this price is because I want the world, or women around the world, to access it. So women in Fiji are going on it, women in Africa. These are women with no money. And I want as many women on it as I possibly can for the reasons that I've described. And I always say, one woman at a time. If I can change one woman's life every day, then I can go to bed at night a happy woman. So the program, the topics are personal empowerment, taking control of your life, and there's about 9 different subjects in that topic. Your story, you really matter. Talking about women, put everybody first except themselves. So we talk a little bit about this, and it's a great topic to go into. Trust, love and safety in relationships. Now, the reason why I actually put this in, and I've actually wrote this program in this order, is because a lot of women don't have great relationships but think they do. Or a lot of women put up them with the most amazing amount of nonsense and garbage in relationships and tell me that it's okay. Their husband or partner or wife really is a great person, but they speak to them badly, or they don't treat them well, or they abuse them. Women in business is topic number 4. So I talk mainly about being able to be assertive and to be empowered in work and to hold your ground and to have your say. Very strong on that. Managing stress as a woman in a challenging world is stage number 5, and it's all about stress, the types of stress, how women are stressed, what you can do about stress, the reactions, the responses to stress, keeping stress at bay, etc. Probably one of the 3 most important topics in this program, communicating assertively and confidently. And I could go on about this, but I won't now because I'm wary of the time. But I think that there's a couple of key things that women struggle with in today's world, not only in business. Overall, though, we tend to lack confidence. And confidence is a big thing for women. Self-doubt is a big thing, which is attached to confidence. Not being able to back ourselves as women is huge, which is attached to the 2 before that. So we don't stand up for ourselves. We don't have our say. We're not assertive. If somebody at work's not doing something or is not being polite to you or not doing something that's happy for you or pleasing you, a lot of women won't say anything, or they'll talk about it not addressing the issue, or they'll go home and over time become more and more depressed. So learning how to communicate assertively and with confidence is critical for women, and we just don't do it well. You, the emotionally intelligent woman, is all about managing your emotions well so they work for you, not against you. So if somebody is rude to you at work, you stand your ground calmly. You don't shout or rant or scream, but you stand up assertively and, hold on to your emotional intelligence, and you deal with them calmly. And I think that in my experience watching women who have the ability to communicate calmly and emotionally intelligently, and women who are assertive, are really generally women who are great in business. An example would be Gail Kelly. Now, I don't know if any of you know, she used to be the former CEO of Westpac. Gail Kelly was as cool as a cucumber under pressure, very calm, always tempered, always measured. And I think that in part is why she got to where she got to. Real resilience is bouncing forward as a woman. You know, the definition of resilience is the ability to bounce back. I actually think that resilience is the ability to bounce forward. So what does it mean to be resilient as a woman, and how do we learn resilience, and how do we keep that resilience at the top of our minds and the top of our daily lives? And that we talk a lot about that, and that's a beautiful topic in the Be Unstoppable program. And the last one then is goal setting, creating the dream life you really want, which is in part what we've been talking about this evening. So you also, what I do like to do is offer you a free 1 hour session if you would like. Actually, I think they're now half an hour sessions. I think my marketing MJ changed into 30 minutes. You will get an email from her. She will be offering you a time trade where you just book on that link and you just have a free half an hour session with me. So moving forward, follow us on. We do lots of work on Facebook. So handle is Empowering Women to Thrive. The Instagram is at Empowering Women to Thrive. Go onto our website and see what we offer. On our website are countless blogs for women, countless. Confidence, leadership, self-esteem, feeling as if you're in control of your life, etc., etc. It's been a real pleasure talking with you this evening, ladies. Do you have any questions, or is there anything that I can answer for you now? We've actually quite well within the time in terms of we haven't gone over. We're just under time. So if any of you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer them. Okay, so I have a question here from Sue. Sue, you're talking about being at work, and you're asking me about the difference between being a power broker and personally empowered. Okay, power broker versus personally empowered. Generally, when we talk about personally empowered, a person who's empowered is a person who makes decisions. They've got control of their life. So they have the personal empowerment to make good decisions. They feel personally empowered to make choices. They are able to choose what they want to do with their lives. They're able to move around. They're able to make decisions. They're able to choose careers. They basically have control of their lives and they are empowered. In other words, the power that they have within them is to choose the things that they want to choose in a meaningful way. A power broker is generally somebody who is egotistical, who is, I often believe, narcissistic, and it's all about using authority to get what they want. So ultimately it becomes about power and control. You know, and I don't know, some of you would have seen the kind of power and control narcissistic boss, and it's all about me, and they walk in, and when anything goes wrong, it's always, about other people, and they're the most important person in the organization, and, everything's about me. And they'll use their power to get what they want, or they'll use their power to stomp over other people. They use their power as a brokerage, if you like. And I must say to you, honestly, I find them unbelievably boring. And I think that this comes back to, which is the other side of my life, servant leadership and leadership. Servant leadership is about being humble as a leader, giving your power away. And, for example, your Mahatma Gandhis, your Mother Teresa's, your Nelson Mandelas, these are people who are servant leaders. And yet, if you think about those three leaders, they had to be the most influential and most powerful leaders, or three of them, that the world's ever seen. And yet, look at the humility. And a power broker is arrogant, whereas somebody, I believe, who's very powerful in their lives or powerful at work are people who give their power away, and therefore they become more powerful. And an example would be, so the power broking boss takes credit for all the things that have gone down well and success in a project, whereas the humble leader who gives the power away is the leader who says, or the woman who says, look, that wasn't me, it was my team. I would never have got there without them, and I sincerely mean that. Please don't thank me. I just want you to see what an amazing team I have. So they give the accolades away. They give the power away. And what's interesting between those two then is that the first example, the power broker, you know what? When the people who work for the power broker get a better job, even at less money, they go. The other people, for example, with the humble leader, even if they get a job often that's paying more, that's being offered to them, they'll stay because of that humble, wonderful, empowered woman for whom they work. So that's the difference. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure as usual. I've loved being with you, and please follow us, catch up with me, book yourself in for a free session, and I really love being with you this evening, and I hope to speak to you over the next day or two, and hopefully see you next month at the next webinar. So until I do speak to you, or you do come in contact with me, stay well, stay happy, and if you're not happy, then pursue happiness. And remember, for things to change, first I must change. God bless.